Hello and welcome everyone to Selective Preparation Power Thinking Skills. Today we have test 2 and there are 10 questions in this video. So let's start with the first one. First question is a flaws in reasoning question. We want to find out which of the following sentences shows the mistake that Sammy has made. So the National Basketball Committee offers prizes for players that shoot the most points and the most valuable player from the winning team. So we have most points shot was 6, 3 people shot 6 points, so that means there will be 3 most valuable player prizes. The flaw is actually in the wording. The word the most valuable player suggests there's only one player, because there is no plural and this the suggests that there is one. Implies a singular, therefore B is the answer. Okay. Another thing is that there are 2 separate prizes, one for the most points and one for the most valuable player. So most likely they are not coinciding. Therefore B is the best answer. There is only one most valuable player because there is no plural. Number 2, which statement is false? So we can go through the options and figure out which ones are true first, and then we can figure out which one is false. Let's do A. There were prior warnings before the eruption of 79 AD. Now 79 AD is when the disaster eruption happened, and there were a number of small tremors. So A checks out from here. Graffiti was considered an art form. You can look for graffiti and it says it was a respected form of writing. So yes, it was considered an art form, not a bad thing. Let's look at D. Post-eruption, the population of Pompeii declined significantly. Yes, you can see from the numbers here that it indeed declined significantly. And by how much? Well, if you look at the numbers, 2,000 over 12,000. That's the same. You can cancel out the zeros, 3 zeros for top and bottom, 2 over 12, which is 1/6 of the population. And I would say that is a significant amount. So D is out. C, 1/8 of the population died as a result of the eruption. Now this is the incorrect one. We just calculated that it was 1/6. So C is the clear wrong answer. Now we're going to use this table to figure out how much Mrs. and Mr. Kinley paid to watch the Carmen Opera with their family of 6 children. They went on a public holiday, which means we're focusing on this aisle here. And now we have 6 children, so we'll times this by 6, and you can't forget the 2 adults for Mr. and Mrs. Kinley. She pays with $200, 2 $100 notes. Okay, let's keep that in mind. 18 times 2 is 36. 15 times 6 is 90. Add it up, you get 6,126. And you're going to minus that from 200. 21910. And you get $74 change, which is answer A. Number 4, the stack of center cubes were painted red, and then only 2, and then they were pulled apart, which center cubes only have 2 faces painted red. So in this scenario, I want you to imagine that the bottom is also painted, okay? In that case, this middle one would have the top and the bottom face painted, right? So this will be painted and this will be painted. If you consider this one, it would have this and the back face painted, and the same situation for this one, this and the back face painted. All the other ones will have more than 2 faces painted. So the answer is D. Flaws in reasoning. Which statement shows the mistake Stephen has made? So he has a dentist appointment on 25th of February. Today's the 18th. After today, there will be 7 days until my appointment. Now, this is a matter of inclusive or exclusive. When we track a week from the 18th to the 25th, there are 7 days. That is including the preceding day. Okay? So 7 days in between. You can either include this or include the last day. Okay? But it says until my appointment. So that means that you have to include the one before to make it 7 days. So you're waiting until the day of your appointment. Okay? So technically, in between, there are only 6 days. Okay, but usually we count either the beginning or the end to count how many full days we have, basically. Okay, so the answer here would be B. The day of the appointment has been counted in his calculations. So if he said after today, then he can't count today, and then that would be 6 days because you'll be starting on the 19th. Okay, 19th, 20th, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25. That is 6 days. You can have a read of the solutions if you'd like more information there. Number 6, we have some evidence to support our main conclusion. What is our conclusion? Our conclusion is that being unhealthy is a choice. Okay, they chose to be unhealthy. Individuals who are underweight should just eat more. Individuals who are overweight should just eat less. So this whole premise is that being unhealthy is led by choosing what to eat. Okay, a choice of what to eat. And that is why people are underweight and overweight. What would weaken it? Well, if we provide a statement that shows that it is not a choice sometimes, that it is just a condition that is put upon people, then that would weaken the conclusion. So if we had an option that would correlate weight with something other than just eating unhealthily or making a choice of what to eat, then that would weaken the conclusion. And that is what C does. If weight is determined by exercise and genetics, that strays off our main point that it is a choice of what we eat. Therefore, C would most weaken the conclusion. Question 7 was a matter of working backwards, okay? We start with 71.75, or at the end, that's how much we have, and we're going to work through our paragraph. 27 for champagne, $30 for his mother, that is a total of 57. We're going to add that because we want to find his original amount, so before he spent that much. When you add it to $71, you get $128.75. Now we have to look at this bit. Afterwards, he put the rest of the money in, which increases money by another 25%. So $128.75 is actually the same as 125% of his original money. We want to get to 100%. How do I do that? Well, I want to get to 25 first, to get to 25%, and then to 100. I'm going to divide by 5 times by 4. Okay? It's exactly the same. You divide by 5 times by 4, and when you figure that out, you should get $103. Okay? So that is the money he had before the fund. Now we look at here. He decides to spend $24 on food, $5 on homeless shelter, and receives another $12. So we have to take away what he received and give back what he spent. So opposite of what we did. 103, we're going to minus 12, plus 5, and plus 24. Same as 103 minus 12 plus 29, which would indeed give you 120. So the answer here is C. Question 8 is an interesting one. Find the area of the slash part in centimeters squared. What we can do is figure out the whole thing minus the white triangle. So let's try. We know that the white triangle has a base of 12 and a height of 11. the white triangle, therefore the area would be 11 times 12 over 2. You can cross simplify here, you get 6. 11 times 6 is 66. Now we take the whole thing is 121 because we do 11 times 12 for the square. And now you do square minus the triangle, which is 121 minus 66, which gives you 66. Now that might be kind of self-explanatory to some of you. If I split this in half, you can see that half of this side is shaded and half of this side is shaded, so half of the total shape is also shaded. So the answer is D. Right, 9. 9 is an interesting one. So we have 5 blue, 5 red, 5 green. And whenever we draw a ball, the ball will be returned with an additional ball with the same color. At the end of the game, probability of Luke getting a red ball is a quarter. Blue ball is 5 out of 12. And green ball is a third. Right now with these fractions, it is very difficult to compare the ratio, how much of each ball is in here. So we're going to make them all over 12. We put a base of 12 on all of them. We can then compare to see what the ratio actually is. So what that means is multiplying this by 3. This will stay the same, and this will be times 4. So now you can see that the ratio of red to blue to green is actually 3/12 to 5/12 to 4/12, i.e. 3 to 5 to 4. Okay, let's rewrite that. Red to blue to green is 3 to 5 to 4. Now we know that a blue ball was drawn 15 times. So how many blue balls are there all together? Well, there'll be 15 additional balls plus the 5 original balls, right? That is a total of 20. So there are 20 blue balls, and that accommodates for 5 parts with our ratio. What that means is you times everything by 4 to get the real amount of each of the red and green balls. It will be 12 red and 16 green. We want to find how many balls he drew in total. So what that means is we're going to add everything up. 12 plus, let's do here, 20 plus 16, you get 48 total. And don't forget to minus the 15 original balls, 555, okay? And that gives you a total of 33, option D. Hopefully that makes sense. That's a pretty good question. Please look at the solutions if you need more information. And this last one. So in medical terms, the placebo effect is when an improvement in symptoms is observed despite using treatments which supposedly have no impact. So we can see from our separate tests that the placebo usually has a higher recovery rate than the antibiotic. So Logan concludes that the placebo treatment is more effective than antibiotics. Now this shouldn't be the case because the placebo treatment is basically ineffective by nature. There's nothing happening with the placebo treatment. Just there to make sure that people aren't imagining that they're getting better just because they are getting treated, okay? So although Logan believes that, Laura believes that the results indicate antibiotics to be more effective than the placebo. Why would that be? Oops. Well, if you add up the test group 1 and 2, the antibiotic rate seems to be 20 plus 180, 200 over 400. That's the antibiotic rate, right? Now the placebo rate, on the other hand, is 90 plus 70, 160 over 400. You can immediately see that the placebo is lower than the antibiotics when you add it together. Okay, not so much when you separated, but because of the difference in total numbers, the results have come out like this. Okay, so it's kind of misleading. If you put that into an actual percentage, the antibiotics would be 0.5, 50% recovery rate, and placebo would be 0.4, 40% recovery rate. So that's why C is the answer. Okay, in that way, it does support Laura's claim. Okay, so let's just wrap up with some points from this test. I'm going to speak about, let's see. Okay, let's do some for area work. Okay, try and observe the bigger picture before diving into your area formulas. Okay, there may be an easier way to solve out the question. Another one I want to go through, maybe that probability question. Okay, don't forget to utilize all your probability tools. This includes ratios and rates. Okay, they may be helpful, so always try and make your denominators the same so you can compare the different probabilities. Alright, so hopefully that video was useful to you guys. Please review those points for the next test. Till then, I hope you have a lovely week.